Are you aware, in this very moment, of how much of your suffering is not created by what happens to you, but by the storm you allow to rise inside your own mind when life dares to touch you? Most people believe they are reacting to the world. In truth, they are reacting to the meaning they have secretly given to the world. They believe life is attacking them, but what is truly happening is far more subtle, far more dangerous, and far more revealing. Life is not trying to break you, it is trying to expose who you are when comfort disappears. It is trying to show you whether you are governed by fear or by something far older, quieter, and infinitely more powerful. Napoleon Hill once wrote that every adversity carries with it the seed of an equal or greater benefit. The Stoics, long before him, believed that every obstacle was not in the path, but the path itself. These two philosophies were never meant to be separate. One teaches you how to build your future. The other teaches you how not to be destroyed while you do it. Together, they form the most dangerous and liberating discipline a human being can possess: the ability to desire without being enslaved by desire, to strive without being consumed by fear, to want without losing your soul. When life tests you, it never announces itself. It does not knock. It enters quietly, disguised as betrayal, loss, rejection, humiliation, delay, and disappointment. It shows up as unanswered prayers and broken expectations. It arrives when you thought you were finally safe, and in that moment, most people collapse inward. They allow the external chaos to rewrite the internal order. They allow the emotion of the moment to override the architecture of their destiny. But there is another way to exist inside these storms. There is a way to feel the impact without becoming the wreckage. There is a way to move through uncertainty with a stillness that confuses fate itself. That way begins when you understand a simple, terrifying truth. You do not control what happens to you, but you control the meaning you give it, and the meaning you give it will determine whether you rise or rot. The Stoics called this the discipline of ascent. Napoleon Hill called it control of the subconscious mind. Both are describing the same invisible battleground where every life is either won or lost. The battleground is not the economy, not your past, not other people. It is the moment when an event strikes your nervous system and you decide, without even realizing it, what it means about who you are and what your future will be. Most people let that decision be made by habit, by old wounds, by fear that has been living inside them since childhood. They see a setback and say, "I am unlucky." They feel rejection and say, "I am not enough." They experience delay and say, "It will never happen for me." In that instant, they do something far more destructive than fail. They program their subconscious to expect defeat. And the subconscious, loyal to whatever story it is given, will work day and night to make that story real. Napoleon Hill taught that the subconscious mind does not judge, it does not argue, it does not analyze. It simply accepts whatever you repeatedly impress upon it and turns it into physical reality. The Stoics taught that your mind is a fortress, but only if you defend it. Otherwise it becomes an open city conquered by every passing emotion. When these two truths are combined, you begin to see something frightening and beautiful. Every time you lose your calm, you are not just suffering emotionally, you are shaping your future. To stay calm when life tests you is not a personality trait. It is not something you are born with or without. It is a discipline so deep that it changes the very structure of how your brain interprets reality. It is the art of holding a burning desire in your heart while your face remains as still as a lake. It is the ability to feel fear without obeying it, to feel anger without letting it speak, to feel pain without letting it write your story. This is why calmness is not weakness. Calmness is the highest form of control. Anyone can react. Only the powerful can remain unmoved while choosing their response. When you become calm under pressure, you step out of the chaos of the crowd and into the quiet authority of those who shape the world. Look closely at every person you admire, every titan of industry, every legendary leader, every individual who seems almost inhumanly composed. They are not calm because life is easy for them. They are calm because they have mastered the inner chemistry of pressure. They have learned how to transmute anxiety into focus, pain into clarity, and uncertainty into quiet, relentless forward motion. Napoleon Hill would say they have cultivated a definite purpose so strong that temporary setbacks cannot hypnotize them into surrender. The Stoics would say they have accepted the nature of fate so deeply that no event can steal their inner peace. Together, this creates a human being who is almost untouchable. Not because they are protected from hardship, but because hardship cannot control them. Life will test you through other people, through their betrayals, their judgments, their indifference. It will test you through circumstances you did not choose, through delays that feel like punishment, through losses that feel unfair. The world will do what the world does. It will change, it will collapse, it will surprise you, it will disappoint you. None of this is personal, but your reaction to it will determine everything. The Stoics believed that when you attach your peace to things you cannot control, you have already lost your freedom. Napoleon Hill believed that when you allow doubt and fear to dominate your imagination, you have already surrendered your success. Both were warning you of the same invisible prison, a prison made not of iron but of uncontrolled emotion. Calm is the key that opens that prison. Calm is what allows you to stand inside a burning house and still see the exit. Calm is what allows you to listen when others are screaming. Calm is what keeps your mind clear when the future feels uncertain. And clarity is where all power begins. Your mind is constantly receiving impressions from news, from PE, Opal, from memories, from your own inner dialogue. Most of these impressions are negative. They whisper that you are behind, that you are failing, that time is running out. If you do not consciously take control of what enters your mind, your subconscious will be programmed by fear, and fear will shape your destiny. This is why staying calm is not passive, it is aggressive. It is the deliberate refusal to let external chaos write internal truth. It is the daily, moment-by-moment act of choosing faith over panic, vision over reaction, and discipline over impulse. Napoleon Hill taught that faith is a state of mind that can be cultivated. The Stoics taught that tranquility is a state of mind that can be trained. Neither is accidental. Both require relentless inner work. When you practice calm, you are not suppressing emotion, you are mastering it. You are saying, I see this feeling, but it does not own me. I feel this pressure, but it does not command me. I am the one who decides what this moment means. There is something almost supernatural about a person who remains calm when everything is falling apart. People feel it, they sense it, they trust it. Opportunities move toward it, chaos avoids it. The universe itself seems to rearrange around those who do not break under pressure. This is not mysticism, it is psychology. When your nervous system is calm, your mind becomes clear. When your mind is clear, your decisions become precise. When your decisions are precise, your results begin to compound. This is how inner stillness becomes external success. But understand this, calm is not the absence of struggle. Calm is the presence of self-mastery inside struggle. It is the ability to carry desire, ambition, and vision without letting them turn into desperation. It is the ability to pursue greatness without being destroyed by the journey. When life tests you, it is asking a single question in 1,000 disguises. Who are you when things do not go your way? Are you the one who collapses into emotion or the one who steps into command? Are you a victim of circumstance or a strategist of fate? Napoleon Hill would tell you that the man who controls his mind controls his destiny. Marcus Aurelius would tell you that the man who controls his reactions controls his life. Both are pointing you toward the same throne, the same quiet seat of power inside yourself. And here is the truth most people never learn. The calmer you become, the more dangerous you become to mediocrity. The more unshakable you become, the more unstoppable your vision becomes. Because panic creates mistakes, but calm creates momentum. Fear creates paralysis, but calm creates movement. Life does not reward the loudest, the angriest, or the most frantic. Life rewards the one who can see clearly when others cannot. The one who can wait when others rush. The one who can remain disciplined when others surrender to emotion. The Stoics believe that everything external is borrowed. Your reputation, your money, your relationships, even your body. All of it can be taken, but your mind, if trained, belongs only to you. Napoleon Hill believed that the mind, when focused on a definite purpose, becomes a magnet for opportunity. When these two beliefs meet, you become something rare, a person who is emotionally independent and strategically obsessed. This is how you stay calm when life tests you. You stop asking why this is happening to you, and you start asking who you are becoming because of it. You stop demanding that reality be different, and you start shaping your response to it. You stop leaking energy through emotion, and you start storing it as power. In the silence of your composure, a new self is being born. A self that does not beg the world for mercy. A self that does not break when plans collapse. A self that does not panic when the path disappears. This self knows that every delay is preparation, every loss is redirection, and every test is an invitation to rise. Life will keep testing you. That is not a curse. That is the price of becoming something extraordinary. And the calm you cultivate in the face of those tests will determine whether you merely survive or whether you begin to quietly, inevitably, and powerfully dominate your destiny. The storm does not ask for your permission before it arrives. It simply enters your life, tearing at the structures you thought were permanent, shaking the ground beneath the identity you have carefully constructed, whispering doubt into the spaces where confidence once lived. And in that moment, the untrained mind believes something terrible is happening, when in truth, something incredibly precise is taking place. You are being invited to discover who you really are when all the noise is stripped away. Most people mistake calmness for indifference, but the Stoics knew better. Calmness is not the absence of feeling. It is the refusal to let feeling become the ruler of your behavior. Napoleon Hill taught that desire is the engine of achievement, but even he warned that uncontrolled desire becomes obsession, and obsession becomes fear. The fusion of these two philosophies reveals something profound. Desire must be held with discipline, and discipline must be fueled by vision. When one exists without the other, the mind collapses into chaos. Every test you face is a confrontation between your higher self and your emotional self. The emotional self is loud, impulsive, desperate for immediate relief. It wants comfort, validation, certainty. The higher self is quiet, patient, strategic. It is willing to endure temporary discomfort for permanent transformation. Staying calm is how you choose which of these two voices will guide your life. The reason most people feel constantly overwhelmed is not because their lives are too difficult, but because their minds are undisciplined. They allow every external event to dictate their internal state. A rude comment ruins their day. A setback erases their motivation. A delay convinces them they are failing. They are not living consciously. They are being lived by their emotions. Napoleon Hill would say their subconscious is being programmed by fear instead of faith. The Stoics would say their judgments are out of alignment with reality. Both diagnoses point to the same wound, the inability to separate what happens from what it means. When something goes wrong, the untrained mind immediately attaches a story to it. This is unfair. I am unlucky. I am not meant to succeed. This always happens to me. These stories feel true, but they are nothing more than emotional interpretations masquerading as facts. And once the subconscious accepts them, it begins to build a future that reflects them. Calmness interrupts this process. Calmness reaches a pause between the event and the story. In that pause, you regain your power. You get to decide whether this moment will become a wound or a weapon. You get to decide whether it will weaken you or sharpen you. The Stoics practice something called negative visualization, imagining loss, not to suffer, but to prepare. Napoleon Hill taught autosuggestion, repeating beliefs not to escape reality, but to shape it. Both are methods of conditioning the mind to remain steady when reality shifts. When you rehearse adversity in your imagination, it loses its ability to shock you. When you rehearse success in your subconscious, it gains the power to guide you. Life tests you not to punish you, but to train you. Every difficult moment is a weight added to the bar of your mind. If you resist it, you strain. If you panic, you drop it. But if you breathe, focus, and lift with intention, you grow stronger. Most people never realize that their anxiety is not a response to what is happening, but to what they believe might happen. They are living in a future that does not exist, haunted by outcomes that have not occurred. Napoleon Hill would call this fear the greatest enemy of achievement. The Stoics would call it false judgment. Both would tell you that peace is found only in the present moment, where reality actually lives. To stay calm when life tests you, you must learn to anchor yourself in what is, not in what you fear. You must become intimate with uncertainty. You must learn to stand in the unknown without collapsing into imagination. This is not passive. It is one of the most demanding mental disciplines a human being can practice. Every time you remain calm in a moment that once would have overwhelmed you, you rewire your nervous system. You teach your body that it is safe even when things are not perfect. You teach your mind that it does not need to panic to survive. Over time, this creates a kind of inner gravity. Stress bends around you. Pressure no longer crushes you. You become someone who can hold more, endure more, and achieve more. Napoleon Hill believed that persistence is the direct result of clarity of purpose. The Stoics believed that endurance is the result of alignment with nature. When your purpose is clear and your expectations are realistic, calm becomes natural. You stop demanding that life be easy. You start demanding that you be strong. There is a strange peace that comes when you stop arguing with reality, when you stop insisting that things should be different, and instead ask how you can move forward with what is. This is not resignation, this is strategic acceptance. It is the foundation of all real power. You cannot control the economy. You cannot control other people. You cannot control the past. But you can control your response to every one of them. And that response, repeated over time, becomes your character. Your character becomes your destiny. The most successful people in the world are not the most talented. They are the most emotionally regulated. They do not waste energy on resentment, panic, or self-pity. They conserve their energy for focus, creativity, and execution. They understand that every emotional reaction is an investment, and most people are investing in things that pay nothing back. Calm is a form of intelligence. It allows you to see patterns others miss. It allows you to listen while others are talking. It allows you to wait while others are rushing. And in a world addicted to urgency, the one who can wait holds an almost unfair advantage. Napoleon Hill taught that the imagination is the workshop of the mind. The Stoics taught that the mind must be guarded from false impressions. When you are calm, your imagination becomes a tool. When you are anxious, it becomes a weapon turned against you. Calm allows you to use your inner world to build, not to destroy. Every test is asking you to choose between short-term emotional relief and long-term personal power. It is easy to vent, to blame, to complain. It feels good for a moment, but it programs weakness. It teaches your subconscious that you're a victim of circumstances. Calmness feels harder in the moment, but it builds an identity that nothing can shake. There is a kind of sacred solitude inside calm. It is where you hear your real thoughts, not the noise of the crowd. It is where your intuition becomes clear. It is where your vision sharpens. When you are calm, You are no longer reacting to life. You are in dialogue with it. The Stoics believed that the universe is rational, even when it is painful. Napoleon Hill believed that every experience can be used as a stepping stone toward success. When you hold both of these beliefs, you stop seeing challenges as threats. You start seeing them as instructions. What is this moment trying to teach me? What strength is it trying to awaken? What old pattern is it trying to break? These questions shift you from victim to architect. They transform suffering into strategy. Staying calm does not mean you do not care. It means you care so deeply about your future that you refuse to sabotage it with uncontrolled emotion. It means you are willing to feel everything without becoming enslaved by anything. There is a stillness at the center of every storm. Most people never find it because they are too busy running from the wind. But if you stand still, if you breathe, if you let the chaos move around you, you will discover something extraordinary. You are not the storm, you are the sky. And the sky does not panic when clouds appear, it simply allows them to pass. This is the secret of staying calm when life tests you. You stop identifying with the temporary and start anchoring yourself in the eternal. You stop letting moments define you and start letting your purpose guide you. Every breath you take in calm is a declaration of sovereignty over your own mind. Every moment you do not react is a moment you grow stronger. Every time you choose stillness over chaos, you step closer to the version of yourself who cannot be broken. And that version of you is not a fantasy. It is being built right now, in every test, in every delay, in every silent decision to remain composed when the world tries to pull you apart. There is a quiet law governing the inner world that few ever notice, yet it shapes every destiny with ruthless precision. Whatever you feed with emotion grows. Whatever you starve of attention withers. When life tests you, it is not merely asking whether you can endure pain, it is asking where you place your focus when pain arrives. Do you give it your mind, your breath, your imagination, your future, or do you give it nothing more than silent observation? Napoleon Hill understood that the subconscious mind is the most obedient servant you will ever have. It works day and night, turning dominant thoughts into physical reality. The Stoics understood that impressions are not facts, but invitations to judge. When you combine these truths, you begin to see the terrifying responsibility you carry. Every emotional reaction is a command. Every moment of panic is a blueprint. Every act of calm is a silent order to build something greater. Most people think they lose calm because situations are overwhelming. In reality, they lose calm because they have not trained their mind to remain sovereign when discomfort appears. Their nervous system has been conditioned to associate uncertainty with danger. So when life shifts, their body reacts as if it is under attack, flooding their mind with fear, doubt, and catastrophic images. This is not fate. This is conditioning. And what has been conditioned can be reprogrammed. The Stoics believed that suffering comes not from events, but from our resistance to them. Napoleon Hill believed that failure comes not from circumstances, but from a lack of organized thought. Both point to the same hidden enemy, unconsciousness. When you are unconscious, life controls you. When you become aware, you begin to control your life. Calmness is the gateway to awareness. When you are calm, you can observe your thoughts instead of being dragged by them. You can see fear arise without mistaking it for truth. You can feel anger without allowing it to decide your next move. This is not suppression, it is mastery. There is a difference between being emotionally numb and being emotionally disciplined. Numbness is the absence of feeling. Discipline is the presence of choice. The calm you are being called to cultivate is not cold. It is alive, alert, and intensely focused. It is the calm of a predator watching the field, not the calm of someone who has given up. Napoleon Hill spoke of definiteness of purpose as the central organizing force of the mind. The Stoics spoke of living in accordance with reason. When you have a clear purpose and a rational mind, external chaos loses its power over you. You no longer drift. You navigate. Every test is a challenge to your purpose. When something goes wrong, it is tempting to abandon your vision, to question whether it was ever real, to wonder if you are wasting your time. This is the moment when most dreams die. Not because they were impossible, but because the mind could not remain calm long enough to let them mature. Calmness gives your vision time to breathe. It protects your dreams from the violence of doubt. It creates a stable inner environment where imagination can work, where ideas can form, where strategies can be refined. Panic kills creativity. Stillness gives birth to it. The Stoics would retreat into themselves when the world became chaotic. Napoleon Hill would retreat into his imagination. Both understood that the outer world can be hostile, but the inner world, if disciplined, can become a sanctuary of power. When you are calm, you begin to notice things you missed before. The subtle opportunities hidden inside setbacks, the lessons buried inside mistakes, the redirections disguised as losses. Life is always speaking, but it whispers to those who are quiet enough to listen. Anxiety makes everything loud. Calmness makes everything clear. Most people think they need certainty to feel calm. In truth, you need calm to deal with uncertainty. The future has always been unknown. The difference between the anxious and the powerful is not what they face, but how they meet it. Napoleon Hill taught that faith is believing in something before you can see it. The Stoics taught that wisdom is accepting what you cannot control. When these two meet, you become someone who moves forward without needing guarantees. You act without needing reassurance. You pursue without needing permission. This is the psychology of quiet confidence. It does not announce itself. It does not beg for approval. It does not panic when the crowd doubts. It simply continues, steady and relentless, guided by an inner compass that does not waver when the terrain becomes difficult. When life tests you, it is often trying to pull you back into old identities, the version of you that doubted, the version of you that settled, the version of you that believed small was safe. Calmness is how you refuse that invitation. It is how you remain loyal to the person you are becoming, not the person you were. The subconscious is always watching how you respond to adversity. It is asking silently, what kind of person are we? Are we someone who collapses when things get hard, or someone who adapts? Your response becomes your self-image. Your self-image becomes your behavior. Your behavior becomes your results. This is why staying calm is not a luxury. It is a requirement for greatness. The Stoics believe that true freedom is not found in changing the world, but in freeing yourself from the need for it to be different. Napoleon Hill believed that true success is not found in luck, but in the discipline use of the mind. Both are forms of inner sovereignty. Both lead to a life that cannot be easily shaken. There is a strange alchemy that occurs when you remain calm in moments that would once have broken you. You begin to feel a quiet pride, not in your achievements, but in your composure. You realize that you are becoming someone who can be trusted with bigger dreams, heavier responsibilities, and greater power. Because power without calm is destruction. Ambition without discipline is chaos. Desire without control is addiction. Calm is what turns raw hunger into focused purpose. Life will keep testing you at higher and higher levels as you grow. What once seemed unbearable will become routine. What once terrified you will become manageable. This is not because life gets easier, but because you get stronger. Every time you choose calm, you are voting for the future version of yourself who can handle more. More success, more pressure, more visibility, more risk. The world only gives its greatest rewards to those who can carry them without losing their mind. Napoleon Hill warned that riches bring new fears. The Stoics warned that fortune is unstable. Calm is what allows you to walk through both poverty and prosperity without being corrupted by either. You are not meant to be at the mercy of your emotions. You are meant to be the master of them, not by force, but by understanding. not by denial, but by awareness, not by suppression, but by choice. In the quiet space between stimulus and response, a new you is waiting to be born. A you that does not flinch when life raises its voice. A you that does not surrender when plans collapse. A you that knows that every test is an initiation into a higher level of being. And the more you pass these initiations, the more life begins to reveal its deeper patterns. You see that nothing is random, nothing is wasted. Everything is shaping you into someone who can hold the life you say you want. Stay calm, not because things are easy, but because you are becoming extraordinary. There comes a moment in every life when the noise becomes unbearable, when the pressure builds to a point where the mind begins to fracture under the weight of expectation, regret, and fear. It is in this moment that most people reach for distraction, for numbing, for escape. They scroll, they drink, they lash out, they run. But there is another path, a far more difficult and infinitely more powerful one. You can remain still and let the truth of who you are rise to the surface. Napoleon Hill wrote that the greatest enemy of success is the habit of drifting. The Stoics wrote that the greatest enemy of peace is the refusal to accept reality. Drifting is what happens when you let your emotions decide your direction. Acceptance is what happens when you let your reason decide your stance. When you learn to accept what is without surrendering what you want, you enter a state of quiet, unbreakable alignment. Calmness is not resignation. It is resistance to chaos. It is the silent rebellion against a world that wants to pull you into its madness. When you remain calm, you are saying, I will not allow this moment to make me smaller. I will not allow this setback to define me. I will not allow this fear to write my story. Every human being has two lives, the one that happens to them and the one they create within themselves. The outer life is unpredictable. The inner life is yours to command. Napoleon Hill called it the inner citadel of thought. Marcus Aurelius called it the ruling faculty. Both were pointing to the same sanctuary, the place inside you that remains untouched no matter what happens. Most people never learn to retreat there. They live entirely on the surface of their emotions, tossed around by every wave of circumstance. Calmness is the act of going inward when the world goes wild. It is the art of stepping back into the command center of your being. When life tests you, it is trying to pull you into reaction. Reaction is fast, unconscious, and rooted in fear. Response is slow, deliberate, and rooted in clarity. Calm is the space where response becomes possible. Napoleon Hill believed that thought, backed by emotion, becomes reality. The Stoics believed that emotion, if unexamined, becomes tyranny. When you stay calm, you allow your thoughts to be chosen rather than triggered. You choose what emotion will fuel them. You become the author instead of the character. This is why calmness feels so threatening to chaos. Chaos feeds on impulsive reaction. It thrives when you are scattered. It weakens when you are centered. The more you cultivate inner stillness, the more external turbulence loses its grip on you. You begin to see how much of what you once called stress was simply untrained attention. How much of what you once called pressure was simply a lack of inner order. Calmness brings order. It arranges your priorities. It clarifies your values. It aligns your actions with your purpose. There is a certain gravity to a calm person. People feel it. They trust it. They are drawn to it. Not because it is loud, but because it is solid. In a world of fragile egos and volatile emotions, emotional stability is rare, and what is rare becomes valuable. Napoleon Hill taught that success is the result of organized effort. The Stoics taught that virtue is the result of organized thought. Both require discipline. Both require the ability to delay gratification. Both require the ability to remain calm when the immediate impulse screams for release. When you feel the urge to react, to defend, to justify, to attack, pause. That pause is the doorway to your power. In that pause, you can ask yourself, is this response aligned with the person I am becoming, or is it a reflex from the person I am outgrowing? Every time you choose calm over reaction, you weaken the old identity, you strengthen the new one. You are literally rewriting your neural pathways, teaching your brain a new way to meet the world. The Stoics believe that character is destiny. Napoleon Hill believed that mindset is fortune. Both are shaped by the same daily choices, the small, invisible decisions to remain composed when it would be easier to explode. Life will continue to test you in more subtle ways as you grow, not always with disaster, but with temptation, with distraction, with the seductive voice that says, "You have done enough, you can relax now." Calmness is what allows you to see through these illusions. It keeps you awake while others drift. The greatest battles are not fought in public. They are fought in the quiet moments when no one is watching. When you are tired, when you are discouraged, when the old doubts return. Calmness is what allows you to stand your ground in these private wars. Napoleon Hill would say that persistence is the direct result of a burning desire. The Stoics would say that endurance is the result of inner harmony. When you burn with purpose and remain calm in execution, you become unstoppable. You stop being whiplashed by circumstances. You stop being emotionally blackmailed by your own fears. You move with a kind of quiet inevitability, as if your path is unfolding rather than being forced. This is what it means to live in accordance with your highest self, not in constant excitement, but in steady, focused intention, not in frantic effort, but in deliberate, disciplined action. When life tests you, it is asking whether you are ready for more responsibility, more success, more impact. Calmness is your answer. It says, I am stable enough to handle what is coming. I am strong enough to remain myself in the face of change. The storms will not stop, but you will no longer be afraid of them, because you will have discovered something far more powerful than favorable circumstances. You will have discovered your own unshakable center. And from that center, everything becomes possible. There is a sacred silence that exists beneath all the noise of the world, a stillness so deep that even the most violent storms cannot disturb it. Most people never reach it because they mistake their thoughts for themselves. They believe every fear is a prophecy, every doubt a warning, every emotion a command. But the one who learns to be calm begins to separate the observer from the observed, the consciousness from the chaos. And in that separation, a new level of power is born. Napoleon Hill taught that the mind is the most power. Full force a human being possesses, capable of shaping reality itself when properly directed. The Stoics taught that the mind must be governed by reason if it is to remain free. When these two truths merge, you begin to see that calmness is not merely a way to survive hardship. It is the key to creating a life of deliberate design. Every time life tests you, it is presenting you with a choice between unconscious reaction and conscious creation. Reaction is rooted in the past, in old wounds, in conditioned fear. Creation is rooted in vision, in intention, in the future you are building. Calmness is the bridge between these two worlds. When you remain calm, you give your higher mind time to speak. You allow insight to surface. You let intuition guide you. Panic drowns out this inner wisdom. Stillness amplifies it. The Stoics believe that wisdom is seeing things as they are, not as we wish or fear them to be. Napoleon Hill believed that imagination is the blueprint of reality. When you see clearly and imagine boldly, you can navigate any test without losing your way. Most people do not fail because they lack ability. They fail because they lose their composure at critical moments. They sabotage themselves with doubt, anger, and impulsive decisions. Calmness protects you from your own worst tendencies. It keeps you from burning bridges, from quitting too soon, from believing temporary setbacks are permanent defeats. There is a kind of quiet courage that emerges when you know how to remain still in the face of uncertainty. You do not need to pretend everything is fine. You simply know that whatever happens, you will meet it with clarity rather than chaos. Napoleon Hill W. Odd call this faith. The Stoics would call it trust in the order of the universe. Both are forms of inner stability that allow you to move forward without being paralyzed by fear. Calmness does not mean you have no ambition. It means your ambition is so deeply rooted that it does not need to scream. It does not need constant reassurance. It does not need external validation. It simply works day after day, guided by a quiet inner certainty. When you are calm, you stop seeking approval. You stop needing the world to tell you who you are. You become self-defined. This is one of the greatest freedoms a human being can experience. Life will continue to present you with moments that challenge your identity, moments that tempt you to shrink, to compromise, to abandon your path. Calmness is what allows you to remain who you are in those moments. It is the shield that protects your integrity. The Stoics believed that virtue is the only true good. Napoleon Hill believed that character is the foundation of all lasting success. Calmness is the guardian of both. It keeps you aligned with your values when the pressure to betray them becomes intense. There is an alchemy that occurs when you refuse to be rushed by fear. You begin to see that time is not your enemy, that patience is not weakness, that the greatest things in life require seasons to mature. Napoleon Hill spoke of the law of gestation, the idea that every idea, like every seed, requires time to grow. The Stoics understood that nature moves at its own pace, and fighting it only creates suffering. Calmness is how you align with this deeper rhythm. When you are calm, you can endure the waiting, you can tolerate the uncertainty. You can continue to act even when results are not yet visible. This is the hallmark of a mind that is prepared for greatness. The tests will become more subtle as you evolve. They will no longer be obvious crises, but quiet doubts, small discouragements, gentle temptations to give up. Calmness is what allows you to recognize these for what they are and move past them without losing momentum. You begin to live in a state of quiet confidence, where your actions are guided by intention rather than impulse, where your decisions are made from clarity rather than fear, where your life becomes a reflection of your deepest values rather than your loudest emotions. This is the state Napoleon Hill described when he spoke of a mind so focused that it attracts everything it needs. This is the state the Stoics described when they spoke of a soul at peace with itself. You are not meant to be torn apart by every challenge. You are meant to be shaped by them. Calmness is the sculptor's hand, refining you, strengthening you, preparing you for the life you are meant to live. In the stillness of your own mind, a great power is waiting to be claimed, a power that does not shout, a power that does not beg, a power that simply knows. And the more you learn to be calm, the more you will hear it guiding you, steady and sure, through every test that life dares to place in your path. When you finally understand what calm truly is, the entire architecture of your life begins to shift. You stop seeing it as a soft state, a passive mood, or a fragile peace that can be shattered by circumstances. You realize that calm is a force, a gravitational field that pulls everything you need toward you while pushing everything that is not aligned away. It is the quiet engine beneath every lasting success, the invisible armor worn by every soul that has learned how to walk through fire without being consumed. Napoleon Hill spoke of a mysterious force that moves through the universe, responding to the thoughts and emotions of those who know how to use it. The Stoics spoke of the logos, the rational order behind all things. These are not separate ideas, they are two ways of pointing to the same truth. When your mind is disciplined and your heart is steady, you fall into harmony with a deeper current of reality. And when you are in that current, life begins to work with you instead of against you. Calm is how you align with that current. When you are frantic, desperate, or emotionally volatile, you are moving against it. You are swimming upstream, exhausting yourself, wondering why everything feels so hard. But when you are calm, when your thoughts are clear and your emotions are under command, you begin to move with the flow of things. Opportunities appear, solutions reveal themselves, the right people arrive at the right moments. This is not luck. It is coherence between your inner state and the outer world. Every great achievement in human history was born from this coherence. Behind every empire, every invention, every transformation, there was a mind that did not collapse under pressure. A mind that could hold a vision steady while the world tried to shake it loose. A mind that could endure long periods of uncertainty without surrendering to doubt. This is what Napoleon Hill meant when he wrote about faith, not blind belief, but the unshakable inner knowing, that persists even when evidence is absent. This is what the Stoics meant when they wrote about tranquility, not the absence of hardship, but the presence of a mind that refuses to be enslaved by it. When you stay calm while life tests you, you are sending a message to your subconscious, to your nervous system, and to the universe itself. You are saying, I am not afraid of what is happening. I trust myself to meet it. I am strong enough to endure it. I am wise enough to learn from it. That message changes everything. Your subconscious begins to look for solutions instead of threats. Your nervous system stops wasting energy on panic and starts conserving it for action. Your perception sharpens. You begin to see doors where you once saw walls. Most people never experience this state because they never stop fighting their own reality. They argue with what is. They resist what is happening. They demand that life be different before they allow themselves to be at peace. But peace is not something you earn after the storm. It is the stance you take while the storm is raging. The Stoics knew that you cannot control the waves, but you can learn how to ride them. Napoleon Hill knew that you cannot predict every obstacle, but you can condition your mind to remain focused no matter what appears. When you do both, you become someone who is not easily shaken. You stop being pulled apart by other people's opinions. You stop being derailed by temporary failures. You stop being haunted by imagined futures. You become rooted in the present moment, where all your power actually lives. There is a reason why the most effective leaders, the most dangerous competitors, and the most successful creators all share one quality. They are emotionally disciplined. They do not leak their energy through reaction. They do not give their focus to every distraction. They remain calm, and in that calm they see what others cannot. This is the secret advantage that cannot be copied by those who are addicted to chaos. Calmness makes you unpredictable to your enemies and reliable to your goals. It allows you to wait while others rush, to observe while others panic, to strike when the moment is right rather than when the pressure is highest. When life tests you, it is not asking you to be fearless, it is asking you to be composed. Fear will arise, doubt will whisper, pain will knock. Calmness does not deny these things, it simply refuses to let them sit in the throne of your mind. You are the ruler of that inner kingdom. Your thoughts are your advisors. Your emotions are your messengers. But you are the one who decides what actions will be taken. Napoleon Hill would say that a mind controlled by fear cannot create wealth. The Stoics would say that a mind controlled by passion cannot be free. Both are true. Calmness is the condition that allows you to be both prosperous and sovereign. This is not a one-time achievement, it is a daily practice. Every morning you wake up, the world will try to pull you into urgency, distraction, and emotional noise. Every day, you will be given countless opportunities to react, to complain, to surrender your composure. Every time you resist those invitations, you grow stronger. You begin to build an identity that does not depend on circumstances, an identity rooted in self-command, an identity that can hold success without arrogance, and endure failure without despair. This is the identity of someone who cannot be easily manipulated, easily discouraged, or easily broken. And this is why calm is so rare. It requires responsibility, it requires self-awareness, it requires the courage to face your own mind without flinching. But for those who do, it offers something no external achievement ever could. It offers mastery, mastery over your reactions, mastery over your fears, mastery over the story you tell yourself about who you are and what is possible for your life. The world will test you again and again. It will tempt you to doubt your vision. It will try to rush you into mistakes. It will attempt to drown you in noise and confusion. But you do not have to follow it there. You can stand in the center of it all, breathing steadily, seeing clearly, moving deliberately. You can become the kind of person who walks through adversity with a steady gaze and an unbreakable spirit. The kind of person who does not beg for life to be easy, but demands of themselves the strength to handle whatever comes. This is not a dream, this is a discipline, and it begins now. In this moment, as you hear these words, you have a choice. You can continue to let your emotions rule your actions, to let circumstances dictate your inner state, to let fear and doubt quietly decide the limits of your life. Or you can make a different decision. You can decide to become calm, not because life is gentle, but because you are becoming powerful. Choose to pause when you want to react. Choose to breathe when you want to panic. Choose to think when you want to lash out. Choose to remain still when everything inside you wants to run. Do this again and again, and you will feel something shift inside you, a new solidity, a new confidence, a new clarity that cannot be taken from you. This is the path of those who master both ambition and peace, who hold desire in one hand and discipline in the other, who build their future without losing their soul. Life will test you. Let it. Stand calm in the fire. Let the old fears burn away, and walk forward as the person you were always meant to become, focused, unshaken, and ready to claim everything that belongs to you.